What's up everyone, this is Tony with Salt Strong, and I want to discuss a few reasons why you would want to use fish grips when handling fish. Also, I want to talk about, first off, my favorite grips to use. These are the fish grips, that's what they're called. They're made here in the USA, and these are made of plastic, so they do float if you happen to drop them in the water. And I like this orange color because it's highly visible. So again, if you do happen to drop it in the water, you can get a good idea of where they are at, so you can retrieve them and you don't lose them. So now, as far as why you would want to use fish grips, fish grips are a great alternative over using a net because number one, a net can rub off the slime coat of a fish depending on the type of net you're using. If you're using like a net that has rubber mesh, it's better for the fish, but it can still cause damage. If the tail happens to push into the webbing of the net, it can actually split the tail. That's why on some fish you may see the tail have a bunch of slits in the tail, and that can affect the propulsion of the fish when it's trying to swim, or if it's trying to chase down food, which can in turn affect the survival rate of that fish. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, another thing I like about these fish grips is that they have a wide lip on them. So it's actually better for the fish than some of those metal grips that are out there that have a very thin lip on them. And what that does, if it's very thin, it's going to poke a hole in the fish's mouth. And if that fish starts thrashing around, that creates a larger hole in the fish's mouth. And that can actually affect their ability to feed because now they have, this large hole in their mouth. And if they go to feed, whenever you see a fish feed, they basically suck in water through their mouth and it goes out their gills. And that suction type of feeding, if there's a hole in their mouth, that can affect their ability to feed. So definitely keep that in mind when it comes to conservation of fish. Now also, if you happen to catch a very large fish that's too big for a net, or if you're fishing from a kayak and you need to get control of a fish right next to you in the kayak, this is a great way to get a hold of those fish. That way you have them under control. You can either keep them in the water and unhook them, or if you wanted to bring them on board, you can use the lip grips to sort of grab the fish by the jaw, support the belly, bring the fish on board, take a picture, unhook the fish, and then release it. Also, with these fish grips, what I have done before, if you need to revive a fish, is you can lock that fish grip on the fish's jaw and then use this tether in the back, which basically you want to use to keep control of the fish grip so you don't lose them, is you can tie this off to a rope and then drag it along the side of the boat, drag that fish along the side of the boat or your kayak to help get water running through their gills so you can help revive that fish by using these fish grips. And lastly, if you happen to be handling, sharks or barracuda or any of those types of species that have a lot of teeth, this can be a very safe way to handle those fish. Because they're plastic, it's safe for the fish and their teeth, so it doesn't break their teeth, obviously, like metal grips would. You can just grab them by the lower jaw, use a pair of pliers or a de-hooker, get that fish unhooked and released safely. Now, if you are interested, we do sell these on our shop page now at fishstrong.com. You can pick them up there. And if you are one of our insider members, keep in mind you do get a discount on all tackle and gear. So definitely be sure to take advantage of those savings. Now, one last thing I wanted to mention, even though these are useful for handling fish, if you're not catching fish, these are pretty much useless. So if you find that to be a problem in your area, you're just not finding active feeding fish, you just can't get on the bite, highly recommend checking out our Salt Strong Insider Club at saltstrong.com, where we guarantee you'll start catching more inshore fish. And we do this by, teaching you what the trends and the patterns are based on the time of year and also based on where you're at. Anywhere from Texas all the way up through the Carolinas, Virginia. We help you out in all those regions, so definitely be sure to check that out. saltstrong.com/pricing to see if you're a fit for the Insider Club. So that will wrap up this video. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them down below.